Hi there, everyone. So, a few weeks ago, I did a video examining an email from feminine energy dating coach and self proclaimed expert, Adrienne Everhart. I've spoken about her in a few other videos. I've explained that I used to be a very kind of enthusiastic follower of her method, and it caused endless problems in my dating life. And I now feel very strongly about dating coaches like her, and I feel like I have a responsibility and insight in order to speak out against dating coaches like this, whom I really feel do much more harm than good to the women that they proclaim to be trying to help. And I think Adrienne Everhart is a particularly good example of what is called feminine energy dating approach or method or style. She believes very strongly in this way of approaching relationships. And if you don't know what feminine energy methods or approaches are, I strongly recommend that you go and look up this topic online for context. In my personal opinion, now that I've kind of deconstructed a lot of this advice, I think that it's very similar to the sort of advice that the likes of Andrew Tate and men in the whole manosphere incel community advice, community offer to people about how to approach their relationships. Feminine energy dating coaches come at it from a slightly different angle, but in my opinion, they are just as harmful in many ways, and they're a bit more insidious because they're much more subtle about the message that they're presenting. Now, having said that I believe that they do harm to women, and that I see them on a very similar sort of level as the likes of Andrew Tate and these kind of women-hating male influences or manosphere types. Having said that, I do think that a lot of feminine energy dating coaches are really not intentionally trying to harm women. They genuinely believe in what they are saying. I think that they're really trying to help, at least partly. They believe that what they are doing is helping, but I just think they are extremely misguided. And again, this is my perspective. I'm not saying that you need to agree with me. I'm just offering my take and my analysis of this kind of advice. If it helps you, if some of it helps you or all of it helps you, then I'm not going to say that you're wrong. And as I always say on my videos, I encourage and welcome all viewpoints and opinions, and please don't feel as if you have to agree with my take on any of this. I also like to always put a caveat in my videos about consulting real qualified, trusted professionals when it comes to your mental health. If you have access to therapy, it's something that I strongly recommend, or at least, make sure that you are talking to people whose perspective you really trust. Don't take anything that I say at face value. I'm simply presenting my own take on all of this. And I always encourage you to weigh everything that I say and everything that everyone says, and see what resonates for you, and, just weigh it against your own judgment to determine what works best for you. And I think that's something that we all have to do. But I do think the likes of Adrienne Everhart and feminine energy dating coaches are doing damage to women. And I'm hoping to show how I believe they're doing that in these types of videos. So the likes of Andrew Tate and his ilk of male influencers gets a really bad rap in the press. And I think everyone knows how harmful he is. And certainly a lot of the things that he's done are actually criminal offenses. And so, it's very easy to point to his behavior and see how it's damaging to women and to relationships between men and women. And I'm certainly not saying that feminine energy dating coaches are committing crimes in the same way that the likes of Andrew Tate are. And I'm not saying that they are as out there with the toxic things that they're saying, but it's more subtle, it's more insidious. And it's very easy to accept the advice that they're giving because so much of it sounds so good. It sounds so sweet. It's so kind of seductive and alluring, and it makes so many promises that we as women often want to believe. We really want to trust people like this. But I think something you really need to ask yourself before you trust the advice of anybody is, two really big questions that you at least want to think about in some depth and detail before you trust anybody's advice. First of all, why are they saying this? What is their motive? Everybody has a motive and an agenda and an intention. Some people are very forward and out there with their motives and their intentions, and it's easy to see why they're doing what they're doing. Other people are a little bit more sneaky and a little bit more roundabout with their intentions and why they're doing what they're doing. So you just need to look a little bit more deeply. Coaches like this are primarily doing what they're doing in order to earn a living. So never forget that. They're trying to sell their books, their coaching sessions, their classes, their their courses, whatever it is that they are getting paid for, that's ultimately what they're trying to push onto their audience. So always remember that. There might be a little bit of an intention to do good thrown in there, but that's always going to be secondary to the desire to make an income. The second question you always want to ask yourself is, how do they know this information? Who are they to be telling me anything? You should be asking that about everybody, really. Anyone who is pretending to be some sort of expert or offering their information as, truth or fact, always ask yourself, how do they know? What makes them an expert, or what makes them qualified to be saying all of this? Feminine energy dating coaches, as I've said before, and dating coaches just in general, the vast majority of them are either self-taught or they have been certified by another self-taught coach who has gained fame and, some sort of following. And the only thing that actually qualifies them to be giving advice is the fact that they have a large audience. That's what they use to prop up this idea that they're an expert. But they're not true experts in the sense that almost none of them have any sort of psychology degree or mental health qualification at all. And, I would even apply that question to myself. Why should you listen to me? I'm not a mental health expert. Although, just fun fact, I'm actually going to be starting a counseling degree, my first year of a counseling degree later in the year. But as it stands, I'm no expert. Why should you listen to me? Well, as I've already said, I encourage you to weigh up everything that I say to see whether you agree with it or disagree with it. I encourage you to do your own research and to call me out if you think I've said something wrong. And I also encourage you not to take anything I say at face value. But in terms of why I am qualified to be talking on these topics, well, I studied feminine energy dating advice for many, many years. And I was a follower of this sort of advice. And I tried to live it out in my own dating life. And so I can speak from firsthand experience about what it's like to try and follow advice like this and the pitfalls that it can lead you into, because that's exactly what happened to me. So my kind of expertise, if you even want to call it that, is just purely from my own personal experience. So take it as such. But I do think it's valuable in the sense that if you are considering following advice like this, or if you're just wondering why advice like this maybe is really confusing or difficult or doesn't quite sit right with you, I can offer a perspective of someone who has followed this advice and kind of where it led me and the problems that I saw with it. So there's that long preamble out of the way. Let's get right into this email. So as I said, I did a video a few weeks ago where I examined an email that I was sent by Adrienne Everhart as part of her mailing list. And I said that I would look at another email that I was sent by her in a separate video. And I think this email that we're going to be looking at today is kind of the perfect follow-on from the previous email that I looked at from Adrienne. This email we're going to look at today just builds on this really harmful narrative about women basing their beliefs about relationships and their beliefs about their role in relationships on what someone else tells them men are like. And why this can be so harmful and why it can make it so difficult for women to find their own voice and their own autonomy inside a relationship, and why it can lead a woman to such a toxic place. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. This email is entitled, "Have you ever been ghosted, breadcrumbed, or ignored by a man?" Now, as you might have guessed, if you've seen any of my other videos, I'm already intensely bothered by a title like this. It's very clickbaity. It's using a lot of buzzwords that we hear in the arena of dating advice, things like ghosted, breadcrumbed, ignored. These are buzzwords because they are common problems that people experience in the dating world. And the second problem I have with that title is a lot of people, a lot of women who this is targeted at, have found themselves in that position of being ghosted, breadcrumbed, or ignored by a man that they're dating. And speaking from experience, this is an incredibly painful and devastating place to find yourself in, especially if you have mental health challenges. If you struggle at all with your mental or emotional health, then dating challenges are that much more painful for you. And so she is right out of the gate, in my opinion, preying on people who are in that painful position. So just bear that in mind before we even go any further. That is who she's targeting by an email like this. And by the fact that she is titling her email like this, she is kind of inadvertently offering a false promise that she can get you out of this situation, that she has the cure for this painful predicament. So then the subtitle is How Men Cope with Their Feelings About Women in Life. Now notice the very next thing that she does is frame this problem as women needing to understand men. Instead of understanding themselves, she's going to tell us about how men cope with their feelings about women in life. And that if we can only understand how men cope and how men feel and think and behave, then maybe we can get ourselves out of these situations and not get ourselves into these situations in the first place. Because, of course, silly women, it's all our fault that we have been ghosted, breadcrumbed, or ignored by a man. It's just because we didn't understand how men really operate. So it's this insidious, subtle message coming through that the responsibility, the onus is on women to understand men, and that they don't really need to understand us. And we'll see this coming through in the rest of the email as well. So let's continue. Dear Diamond Girls, I'm excited to share this newsletter with you because it contains tips that will truly advance your feminine energy to the next level. Masculine energy in our bodies can have us feeling confident that we are so very right about a situation or action, only to later have the awareness of our feminine self enlightened. Now, remember what I said before. Coaches, feminine energy dating coaches like Adrian, love to demonize masculine energy in women and praise feminine energy in women. So a quick recap. Masculine energy, according to them, is energy that's about doing, solving problems, making things happen, taking the initiative, being proactive. Although all the doing behaviors they characterize it as masculine energy, and they are against women being that way. They don't want us to be doers and problem solvers and thinkers and all that sort of thing. Thinking, that's also masculine energy, according to them. Feminine energy, according to them, is being very passive, being receiving, being responsive to what someone else is doing rather than initiating. Feminine energy, according to them, is about being. It's about figuring out how you feel, being in the moment, being kind of very calm and sort of sweetness and light and all that sort of thing. And they're very much in favor of women embodying that sort of energy. And according to feminine energy dating coaches, a lot of problems in relationships can be boiled down to the fact that women are too much in their masculine energy. And this is something Adrian likes to say a lot. And I hope that by me framing it in this way, you can see how toxic that is. That trying to get women not to be proactive, not to take positive steps in their lives and their relationships, and instead be always sort of waiting for things to happen to them and being kind of receptive and responsive and passive instead of being proactive. I hope you can see why that can be detrimental. And also very difficult to follow, especially if you are a confident, intelligent woman. So she goes on to say, women can forget their power in a relationship. I would agree with her on that, but I don't think that she and I agree on how women tend to forget their power. I think she has a very different idea of what that means from me. But anyway, then she says, men desire sex and female companionship. So already she's positioning herself as an expert on what men want. And she says it's sex and female companionship. So we just need to understand that men are just these very primitive creatures that want sex and companionship and nothing more. And we are the vessels for that sex and companionship that he wants. So she says, what you've got is what he needs. Simple, isn't it? It's just so straightforward when she puts it like that. And she says, a man wants to feel like a man. Oh, here we go again. He needs to feel like a man. You need to help him feel like a man. She says, a man wants to feel like a man, strong, protective, fixing, solving, and appreciated. So you naughty women, don't you go thinking that you're strong, protective, or that you get to fix and solve things, or that you need to feel appreciated. It's men who need to feel that way, not you. Men want to feel important and that they're providing and caring for a woman and offspring dependents, be that children, in-laws, or family pets. But so again, she knows exactly what men want and what they need to feel important. They need to feel like they're providing and caring for people who are weaker and more vulnerable than them. That's what's coming through to me. I just find this so ridiculous, having the perspective that I have now. Language like this, it makes me really angry. And if I didn't make light of it, I would get very upset by this, because I imagine these poor women reading an email like this and beating themselves up because, there they were thinking that they understood a person that they're dating, and someone like Adrian comes along and says, oh, no, this is what men are like. You go thinking that you can understand what men are like. I'm going to tell you what they're like, and I'm also going to tell you what you should be like. And then, if you could just put these, insights into practice, everything will be just fine. So she goes on to say, men secretly love it when you fall asleep in the car as they drive. They are your ultimate protector. Isn't it just so simple? They just want to feel like they're protecting us, poor, weak, vulnerable little women. If you can just make yourself weak and vulnerable, if you can just fall asleep while he's driving, everything will be okay. They'll love you. You'll be good enough for them. And she says, so why do men ghost breadcrumb and ignore quality women? Okay, so again, as I said at the beginning, when we started reading this email, she's framing this entire very painful predicament where you have someone who you were dating who is now distant from you, whether he's ghosted you, breadcrumbed you, which I believe means he's just offering like little bits and pieces, just kind of basically giving you little scraps, but not really being, really available for what you want from him, or ignoring you. This is a painful position to be in. And she is painting this as a problem that we can solve by just understanding men. We need to frame it as, how can we get into his head? How can we understand the reasons why he's doing this? And just in case you want my hot take on this situation, if someone is treating you this way, don't try and get into their head. I mean, if you've done something truly awful, if you've done something to put someone off, someone that you're dating, if you've really messed up, then fine. You might have a bit of a mess to clean up. You might need to apologize or, maybe look at your own behavior. But if you have done nothing wrong and someone has ghosted you or is breadcrumbing you or ignoring you for no reason, and it's causing you pain and anguish and stress, please don't waste your precious life and your precious time trying to get into the mind of someone like that and trying to frantically understand them and think about how you can make them feel better. Please just move on to someone who is actually going to respect you and love you and care for you and not behave this way. But having said that, having given you that, what I believe is good advice, let's go on to read how feminine energy dating coaches like Adrian go on to manipulate situations like this and make women who are in this kind of situation feel even worse about themselves. So she says, number one, know the difference between these terms. Well, I think most people know what they mean by now, but for those of us who don't, Adrian is going to explain it to us. Ghosting is a total disappearing act. The man is gone and does not return. I thought that was pretty obvious. Again, notice how she's framing all of this in terms of the man's behavior. She's said absolutely nothing so far about, the woman's perspective, how the woman might be feeling in this sort of situation, encouraging women to see this as really toxic behavior. It's all about understanding the man. And this is so male-centric, this entire email. But let's continue. Then she says, a breadcrumber flakes off crumbs of affection, time here and there, spanning months to years, all to keep you hanging on, starving for their crumbs. I think possibly breadcrumbing is the absolute worst. behavior you can encounter in the dating world, because at least ghosting, when someone ghosts you, it kind of forces you to move on physically, even though it might take a while to move on emotionally. But breadcrumbing is a lot worse, because someone gives you false hope over, a short or long period of time, and it's really confusing, and it's a painful situation. And please, if you're dealing with a situation like that where someone is causing you pain because they're just giving you little crumbs, please know that you are worthy of a person who truly loves you and is there for you and wants to, be the person that you need and deserve. And that's who you should be looking for. Don't waste any of your precious time here on this earth with a person who's causing you pain because they're just making you feel like they're not worth their attention. That you are not worth their attention, and they're just giving you little bits and pieces. So then Adrienne says, the man who ignores will seem hot and cold. He's totally into you until something goes wrong, then he's off to the cave mentally or physically. Notice how she frames this. She says he's off to the cave, as if like this is just a totally normal and understandable way to handle a relationship hiccup. We all have bumps in the road when you're in a relationship with another human being. It's normal that things will sometimes go wrong. It's normal that there will be things that you need to navigate together. And if someone's method of dealing with that is to ignore you for extended periods of time, please know that's not a good communicator. That's not a good partner. To just simply write it off as he's going to the cave, I just think is a real cop-out, and it really sells women a raw deal, in my opinion. Yes, both men and women can sometimes need to retreat from a difficult situation. At times, I've spoken about this. I'm an introvert, and I often will, like to be on my own in order to process things and work through things, feelings and thoughts and choices in my own mind. Sometimes I don't want to talk to people about it. Sometimes I do, but I think there is a time and a place for kind of retreating into yourself, but it shouldn't be done in a really disrespectful, cold way where you're completely blanking your partner. That's not kind. It's not necessary, and it's very immature, and at best. And at worst, it's emotionally abusive. So please don't let language like this, oh, he's just off to his cave. Please don't let that distract you from, your own feelings in this situation, which are perfectly valid. So she says, he ignores your texts and pretends you're invisible in the house. Again, that's not healthy or mature behavior. And you really need to reconsider if your partner is behaving that way. You need to think about if and that is causing you pain and stress. You really want to think about whether that is a healthy relationship. I'm not saying you always automatically want to leave that relationship, but definitely it's worth thinking about how happy you are with a partner like that. And don't let someone like a feminine energy dating expert gaslight you about your own feelings and say, oh, it's fine. He's just going off to his cave. If he's ignoring you, you just need to understand it's not okay. Okay, so let's continue with the email. She says, some men are not ready for the responsibility of being the provider, protector to one woman. Oh, well, women, you just need to understand. Don't you know, some men are just not ready for that responsibility, and you just need to let them off the hook. And if they hurt you by ignoring you or ghosting you or stonewalling you, then you just need to understand they're just not ready. As I say, I'm making light of this, but again, you don't need to let a man off the hook just because he's not ready. It might be time to, you can let go of that relationship. If he's not ready, then he's not ready. But don't think that it's up to you to try and understand his journey and what he's going through. You need to look out for yourself and your own feelings. And if someone is not ready, that's a sign that they can't be what you want, and that relationship is going to lead to nothing but pain for you. So please don't think that it's your responsibility to understand and hang on until he becomes ready, or that you just need to kind of lower your own expectations or swallow your own needs. No, absolutely not. So Adrian goes on to say, no amount of feminine energy will get them activated except walking away. Oh my goodness. Do you see how harmful this is? She's already kind of acknowledging the advice that she normally gives about being more in your feminine energy, and that'll solve your problems with a man, by saying no amount of feminine energy will help a man in this sort of situation. So, I mean, that is actually true. All the feminine energy in the world is not going to do anything if a man isn't ready to be in a relationship. But then she goes on to say, except walking away. So she's encouraging women to be manipulative in walking away, not to walk away for their own well-being and to get their own needs met and to potentially find a partner who is actually ready to love them and be what they need and what they want. But walking away as the manipulative tool to try and get this man who's not ready to come back and say, oh, wait a minute, don't go. I am ready after all. It's manipulative. Don't walk away from a relationship for that reason, please. I'm just going to open the blinds here. It suddenly just got a bit dark. Just give me 1 sec. That's a wee bit better. So we're going to go on to see how Adrian explains this manipulation. She says, when you turn your back on a man with love and grace, you elicit his chase response. So she's saying walk away from a man in order to get him to chase you. It doesn't get more manipulative than this. I mean, first of all, this is trying to control another person, which is not really in any of our power to do. And we shouldn't be trying to do that with any human being. Don't feel like you need to play these sorts of games in order to get someone to love you. Someone who truly wants to be with you will not require this kind of, mind effery, So that's the first problem, is that it's manipulative, it's controlling. But the second problem is that it gives women completely false hope. It makes them think, oh, okay, well, this guy that I really like, that I have feelings for, says he's not ready for a relationship. So if I just pretend to walk away, I'm not really walking away because I don't actually want to walk away. I mean, I'm ignoring my own feelings about how, abandoned and hurt I feel in this relationship. And I'm just going to pretend to walk away so that he will realize how much he loves me and come running back. It gives women that false hope, and it delays them looking at their own needs and feelings in that relationship even further. It keeps them stuck in a relationship that they just need to let go of for even longer, instead of encouraging them to prioritize themselves and how they are feeling and what they want and need, and to go out and find someone who can actually give that to them. So she goes on to say, this is not a way to maintain a relationship. Well, I would go even further than that and say it's not even a way to get a relationship. Do you want to be doing this? I mean, it's not maintaining a relationship. That is no relationship. If you need to be constantly threatening to leave a man in order to make him realize that he wants you. I mean, it can happen naturally when you have a relationship that ends and there's a period of separation. Sometimes you can realize what you lost in that person, and it can cause you to come back together. but usually only once a lot of growth and, change and maturing and learning has taken place in at least one of you, if not both of you. This is not like if this is an instant, quick fix, you run away, you leave or walk away, and then he suddenly comes running back. I mean, you have to question, how authentic is that? So then she goes on to say, however, it is a one-time method to wake a man up to what he is losing. Be careful with this one. I mean, I just can't even believe that she's giving this advice. It's horrifying to me that, she's saying this is a one-time method to wake a man up. Like a man is this, naughty child or someone who's half asleep in a relationship, and it's your responsibility to wake him up. I mean, as I've said before, you can waste weeks, months, even years of your life on a relationship like this with someone who's not ready, with someone who can't give you what you want. So number 3, she says, a man treats a woman as badly as she allows. So there you go, you naughty women. It's just because you're allowing bad behavior that he's treating you badly. He's got no control over how he treats you. He's just this helpless automaton who can only treat you as badly or as well as you allow. So if he's treating you badly, it's your fault for allowing it. So she says, if you allow a man to treat you a certain way that infringes upon your boundaries, he will continue to do so because he is just a mindless, child who doesn't know any better. And you're the parent who needs to step in and set the boundaries with this helpless man. I hope you can tell by my tone what I think of this kind of advice. A good man will treat you well because he is a good man, because he has good character, because he is a kind, respectful, loving person. And a man who is not a good partner, who doesn't have a good character, who has character flaws, who has undesirable qualities as a person, will treat you badly because that's who he is. Yes, you can help to protect yourself by having boundaries in place. And I've spoken about the importance of boundaries in other videos that I have. It is important to have boundaries so that you know what feels good for you and what doesn't. It's more a way of gauging the world around you. It's not a way to police other people's behavior. You are not responsible for how other people treat you. They are. It's their behavior and they're responsible for it. You are only responsible for how you react to that behavior. If you say, whoa, wait a minute, that doesn't work for me, and this is what I'm going to do in response to your behavior, that's the boundary. But your boundaries or lack of boundaries don't cause people to treat you badly. I hope my explanation has made that clear, because this is other really harmful advice that I see feminine energy dating advice push, that if a man treats you badly, it's only because you've allowed it. No, it's because he's not a good person. That's why he's treated you badly. And boundaries are your way of protecting yourself from someone who's not a good person. Boundaries are not that necessary with people who love you and respect you, people who treat you kindly and in a caring way. You won't need to have that many boundaries with those people because they naturally just treat you well. And that is genuinely the type of partner that I encourage you to find for yourself. So number 4, men ignore a woman because they're coping with whatever is going on the best they can, which is often like a 5-year-old. Okay, so if Adrian has only been implying that men are like mindless children who don't know how to behave properly up till now, well, here she's saying it outright. Men are like 5-year-olds that are just trying to cope as best as they can. And, women just need to understand that. You just need to make allowances because he's just being like a 5-year-old. She says, ignoring a person can be a type of punishment. Well, yes, it is. I mean, stonewalling, shunning a person actually aggravates the same part of the brain as physical pain. It causes us, acute mental distress to be shunned or ignored by someone that we love. And luckily, I think she actually does point this out. She says being in a committed relationship means communicating, not abandoning one another. Abandonment is not sustainable. It is emotional abuse. I'm really glad she said that because I completely agree. If you're in a relationship where your partner is just routinely ignoring you whenever things get difficult for him or her or them, that is a type of emotional abuse. It's very painful, and it's not a healthy way to conduct a relationship. You know, good, happy, healthy, loving relationships do rely on open communication in order to work. We need to be able to feel safe talking to our partners about things without feeling that they're going to cause us some sort of pain if we do so. So she says, I strongly encourage you to not become a victim of this type of abuse and end the cycle with a firm boundary or walking away. Well, I mean, I'm glad she said that, but I don't like her wording when she says, I strongly encourage you to not become a victim of this type of abuse. Abuse can be a lot more sneaky than that, and it's not necessarily a conscious choice to become a victim. You know, in most cases, I think, victims certainly don't choose to become victims. They're often groomed to become victims. And so as I keep saying, I really do not like the way she's putting so much responsibility on women in this email to, try and do away with this type of terrible behavior. And women, no person should feel responsible for the behavior of someone else. Each of us are responsible for the way that we behave. We can only control how we respond to that behavior, but we can't make a person abusive, and we can't make a person treat us badly. Unless we're also being abusive, I suppose, then that person might treat us badly just in response to that. But you really can't, you can't make a man behave this way. And I really hope that you can see this sort of language for the gaslighting and as being really insidious. It's not promoting healthy, empowered patterns of behavior, which is kind of ironic because she said at the start of the email that she wanted women to understand their power in a relationship. Anyway, let's go on to number 5. Here we have more explanation of why men do what they do. So she says men can also ignore because they are all talked out and cannot handle more words. They're completely fatigued by conversation. Okay, so well, if your man is just kind of ghosted you, or is ignoring you, or is just giving you one-word texts, it's your fault because you've exhausted him with too much conversation. You just need to speak less, you silly woman. Don't you realize that you're to blame because you've tired him out? I'd just like to point out that, this can be true for not just men, but for people in general. Conversation fatigue is a real thing. People do sometimes just get all talked out if someone has been talking at them too much. We all have a different capacity for talk and words and communication, or conversation, I should say. I certainly know that I have a limit that I reach when a conversation has gone on too long, or if I'm just tired, or if I'm just not in the mood to talk. I can be fatigued if someone keeps coming at me with words as well. We all can. This is not a man problem. This is a human problem. And again, I really hate it that she is painting it as, well, this is just how men are, and women just need to understand. Women just talk too much. It's just this stereotype that I hate. Women just talk too much, and sometimes men just can't listen to you because you're just talking too much. It's ridiculous. It's really outdated, and it's inaccurate and untrue. Some men don't like to talk a lot, just like some women don't like to talk a lot. Some men are very talkative and some women are very talkative. Some, people of all genders can be talkative or quiet and get fatigued by conversation or enjoy more conversation. It's not a gendered issue. And the way that it's being framed here is as a tool to kind of scold women. You are what has made you are responsible for him ignoring you. And I hate it. I think it's a lie and it's really harmful. And again, as I keep saying, I just feel this empathy for any woman who might be in this situation, this painful situation, who are reading this email and beating themselves up. So she goes on to say, this is when a man needs space and time to miss you. Well, it's just so simple. You just need to make him miss you, like walking away. You just need to try and manipulate and control him by just, making him miss you. Who cares about what you need? Who cares about, taking time to examine your own feelings and your own desires and wishes? Never mind that. Your priority is making him miss you. So she says a man needs space and time to miss you in order to solve the issue at hand. Okay, so that's what he's doing with that space and time. He's solving the issue at hand. You can guarantee that, can you, Adrian? This can be a few hours or 1 to 2 days, but not weeks. Okay, so Adrian, are you suggesting that even in a committed relationship, if a man needs time and space because, he's all talked out, that he can be leaving the relationship for like up to 2 days at a time? Are you trying to tell us that that's acceptable behavior? I mean, it might be if you've negotiated that in your relationship, if you've agreed beforehand that it's okay to take a couple of days of not talking. But I can't really see that really being okay in most relationships. I can't see that that would fly in most relationships. And I think a lot of people, if their partner just disappeared for 1 to 2 days without talking to them because they were all talked out, I think most people would be pretty hurt by that. So again, I just hope I hope that along with me, you are seeing the harmful nature of this sort of advice. She says the period of not speaking should not be happening every time you two experience a disagreement. Well, okay, Adrian, then so what is acceptable? Is it acceptable if he does it every second time? If he does it every fifth time you have a disagreement, he disappears for a couple of days? I can honestly tell you, I would not stick around in a relationship like that. If someone is disappearing for many hours or a day or two each time there's a disagreement or a conversation doesn't go his way, I would not be staying in a relationship like that. And if I would just encourage you, instead of focusing on advice like this, if you are in that kind of situation, I would encourage you to go inside yourself and ask you, how does this make me feel? How is this affecting me? How can I take care of myself here? How can I stop myself from, being in a situation that is causing me pain over and over again? If this is a person's way of handling something, even if they do it once, that is the huge thing to pay attention to. If it causes you pain and distress, your feelings should come first for you. You only have one life to live. And do you really want to be spending large chunks of it, fretting and stressing out and being in pain over a person who communicates this way? So then she says, number 6, if a man has lost interest, he will begin to pull away or ignore advances. Okay, so again, we're back to looking at, we're back to focusing on the man's behavior, and she's not saying a word about how the woman is feeling or, how she should be focusing on herself. We're just looking at the man here. And advice like this that is so male centric, it's so focused on the man and what he is doing and why he's doing what he's doing. It distracts so much attention from a woman's own feelings, herself, her well-being, her, what she wants for her life. Um, it just totally contradicts her message that she is all about empowering women and that she's all about helping women. So she goes on to say, in all of these cases, you need to know what your personal boundaries are and how you desire a relationship to function. You should not have to prove to someone how amazing and lovable you are. Okay, so she says that you should be thinking about your personal boundaries and what you desire in a relationship and that you shouldn't have to prove yourself. But at the same time, she's giving very directive advice elsewhere in the email, telling women what they should and shouldn't do. So can you see how it can be so difficult, to find how you truly feel and what you truly want when you're listening to advice like this? It's these conflicting messages. On one hand, the coach is saying, do this, don't do that. This is why he's doing what he's doing. You're talking too much. You're this, you're that. And this is how he's feeling. You shouldn't be doing this. And then in the next breath, they're saying, oh, but just go with what you feel. Go with the relationship that you want to have. And you're like, oh, God, I don't know anymore. Tell me what to do. It's really confusing. Oh, so now we're going on to some feminine energy tips that she encourages. This should be fun. Oh, gosh. Her very first tip, offering loving silence. Oh, that sun is bright again. Let me just close the blinds a little bit. Offering loving silence. Men need a break from words and communicating, right? So we should be focusing on what they need, not what we need. We need to be worried about their needs first and foremost. And if they need loving silence, well, then it's up to you to give it to them, isn't it? Then she says, do some internal work for you. Ask yourself, why am I saying this or doing that? What am I hoping he will do? So she's saying do some internal work, but then she's immediately framing this as, again, thinking about the man. What am I hoping he will do? What about, and here's like a revolutionary concept, what about just leaving him out of it altogether? What about let's not even think about him. He's behaving like that, fine, okay. What about me? What am I feeling? What do I want? What do I want from a relationship? Never mind, forget about him, never mind him. But what do I actually want for my life? And how is this situation fitting into my hopes and my dreams for my life? Can you see how so much of this advice is just simply geared towards focusing on the man and how little of it is about really finding your own wishes, desires, feelings, dreams, passions for yourself? So she says, if you are seeking an outcome or wanting the man to do something, again, she's just making it all about him. Offer loving space and give yourself solutions that make you feel good right now. Go for a long walk, take a bubble bath, or decide to cook a new recipe you've been wanting to try. So we're back to the same old advice, these self-care tips again, that she was so big on in the previous email. Just do self-care and it'll all be fine. Now, if you, like me, have ever been in this sort of situation where you've been in a painful relationship predicament and you struggle with a mental health challenge like anxiety, like I used to in the past, not so much these days. Still, it's something that's ongoing with me, obviously, but it's something I've dealt with much more intensely in the past. So if I was in a situation like this, someone I was dating or in a relationship with had pulled away from me, because I was in many of those sorts of relationships with, men who were not good partners, who didn't communicate well. They'd pull away for days at a time, ignore me, stonewall me. It was incredibly painful. My anxiety was through the roof. And then you get someone who comes along and says, oh, well, just go for a walk. Just have a bubble bath. Just cook yourself a nice meal. Try a new recipe. That is like putting a Band-Aid on a stab wound. That's what it felt like to me. It was like when people said, oh, well, just breathe deeply, just meditate, just do a meditation on YouTube. You'll feel much better. Saying that to someone who is in this kind of intense pain, someone who is in the middle of deep anxiety, is frankly insulting. And not only that, but it makes them feel worse, because when they try these sorts of tips, going for a walk or a bubble bath or cooking a meal, they don't really feel better, then they feel like they're the problem. They're the ones who are not doing it right, or who should just be doing something more, or that it's up to them to, just to make everything better. And it completely distracts that person in that painful situation from recognizing that they are in an unhealthy relationship, that they're in a situation where someone is not treating them well, and that is causing them anxiety and distress and pain. And that's why I hate this sort of self-care advice as well. It's not only is it not true self-care, because you're not doing these sorts of things, walk, bubble bath, cooking, whatever. You're not doing it because you authentically just want to, because out of joy, or out of, just a true desire to do those activities. You're doing it out of pain. You're doing it in response to a man who has hurt you. So that's not true self-care. That's just trying to survive in the moment. And it also doesn't really work, because a problem like this, where someone stonewalls you or ignores you, goes much deeper than just, oh, well, they've just, I just need to make it through the next couple of hours and distract myself. It's deeper than that. This is a person who can't really communicate. This is a person who's probably not going to be a great partner over the long run. I mean, tell me what you guys think about all of that. Oh, God. So next sentence, a man can sense your energy is pulled off of him, and he'll get curious about you once again. So again, she's just giving that advice about the self-care just to be manipulative. It's just to get him interested in you again. Screw what you want, or, how you might be feeling. This is all about him and getting him interested in you, because you are no longer thinking about him. And again, we're back to just being very man-focused and focusing on him and what he wants and what he's doing, and completely ignoring, what's going on inside us. So she can't seem to get off this man-focusing train in this email. She goes on to say, men need time and space to figure things out and miss you. Did you know that? Men need time and space to figure things out and miss you. And of course, it's your responsibility to give them that time and space. They can't, just do it in a healthy way. You have to be the one to go and, wander off and do these little activities so that he has time and space to figure things out and miss you. He's this helpless child who needs you to make that time and space for him. You can employ this every single day by making sure you have your own rich, full and juicy life. So again, she's not saying create your own rich, full and juicy life because it's what you want and because it'll make you a happy and fulfilled person. It's in response to a man. It's because he needs time and space to miss you. But of course, once he realizes he wants you, once he comes running back to you, all that juicy, full, rich life, all that self-care can just, get tucked away in the drawer until the next time when he decides that he wants to ignore you. So then she says, keep in mind, grace and love are part of your feminine energy communication, not spitefulness or bitterness. Right. So is she saying that, Is she trying to paint women who are in this situation as spiteful or bitter? And that's why the man has decided to ignore them or ghost them? I mean, why did she feel the need to mention this? I don't see how that's helpful. The only thing that I can see would come from a comment like that is a woman who's really feeling down on herself might be beating herself up even more and thinking that maybe she's been spiteful or bitter for, I don't know, just wanting normal relationship stuff. And that's why the man has gone walkabout. I mean, I think it's pretty clear. I have a big problem with this advice. So then she says, ask, what are my intentions? How can I love myself right now? So she spent the entire email pretty much subtly telling women to beat themselves up. And now she says, how can we love ourselves right now? Then she says, what is the outcome I am seeking? Am I being selfish or is this healthy? I just want to say something, right here, right now, just for anyone who might need to hear this. Your feelings are not selfish. Your feelings are just what they are. If you're feeling sad or in pain, hurt, distressed, frustrated, even annoyed, angry, disappointed, any of these feelings, those feelings are not selfish. Feelings just are what they are. Feelings are there to tell us things about ourselves. Feelings are there to give us messages about ourselves and our lives. And we should never, ever shame ourselves or feel that we are being selfish when we have feelings. I think more people actually need to embrace their feelings. I don't think that encouraging yourself to ask whether you're being selfish is actually healthy. Embracing and loving your feelings more and more is the best way to make them your friends and your kind of trusted messengers, because that's what they are. Truly, our feelings are a gift from our authentic selves. That's what I believe. And if someone is ignoring you, breadcrumbing you, ghosting you, which is the entire premise of this email, and that is causing you to feel something or causing you to question the relationship, that is not selfish. If you are questioning this person's behavior, that is not selfish. Don't let coaches like Adrienne Everhart make you think you are being selfish for having feelings or having desires in a relationship. How you choose to handle that with the person that you are with, that can be selfish. Behavior can be selfish. We want to make sure we're being respectful and loving as well, especially if that's what we expect from a partner. We also need to make sure we're treating the person that we're with care and respect and love and the way we would want to be treated. But don't ever feel that your feelings are selfish, that your emotions or your desires are selfish, because they're not. Again, as I say, think about how you want to play them out in practice, because that's where, you could become selfish, potentially. So, make sure you're being respectful to everyone around you. But in this scenario, where someone else is ignoring you, ghosting you, breadcrumbing you, you are not the one being selfish. So for the life of me, I can't fathom why she's included this, unless it's just to, put her audience on the back foot, which is something she does like to do, She says, no person is going to give their partner the patience and reaction we always need or desire. So I suppose here she's just conditioning women to accept less in their relationship, or I don't quite know what she means by this. She says no person is going to give their partner the patience and reaction we always need or desire. So she's saying, well, I suppose she's saying no partner is perfect, which is true. But there's the difference between being a flawed, imperfect human being and someone who is, but someone who's, if you can be flawed and imperfect and still be loving and respectful and caring towards your partner, and, and make mistakes, but be always trying to be a good person and, having the intention to do better and to make things better and to be good to your partner. There's a difference between that and someone who has character flaws and someone who is a poor communicator and who's not even trying to be better. You shouldn't be having to endlessly understand and make allowances for a person like that, So then she goes on to say, we have to ride the wave and keep our head up above the waterline. Before you know it, the wave has passed and you two are sunning on the beach or you found a new fish in the sea. Well, she can't guarantee that. She can't guarantee that if you can just, ride this wave of this person. I don't even think that's good advice. I don't think you should be ignoring, if someone is, ghosting you, breadcrumbing you, ignoring you, and she's telling you you just need to ride the wave and just let it pass and that everything will turn out great in the end. I don't think that's good advice. That's pretty much bypassing the situation and kind of sweeping it under the rug. And when what you should be doing is taking it as a little bit of a relationship warning sign that this person might not be a great partner, especially if the situation causes you to feel intense feelings of pain or, distress. And she's just saying, oh, well, it'll all be fine. You just need to ride the wave. And before you know it, it'll all be, you'll have your happy ever after. It doesn't work like that. You will have a happy relationship with a partner who is capable of having a happy relationship. You can't create a happily ever after with someone who is, not capable of doing that, with someone who's going to cause you pain on a regular basis. Then she says, remember, a man and relationship is an opportunity to learn and grow. Well, that's true. Reflect on what you're learning with every man or situation. This is how you move up the tiers of feminine energy. Well, that's maybe where I don't agree with her. You don't need to see this as some kind of big feminine energy test that you need to pass. This is all nonsense, in my opinion. Yes, learn and grow. Treat every relationship and situation as an opportunity to learn and to grow, but do it in order to be able to live your best life, in order to be able to get more of the things that you need and want in this life, in order to be a better person. Don't do it because, coaches like this have told you need to become more and more in your feminine energy. I can't really see that will help you in the long run. And to be perfectly frank, even these coaches who claim to be following feminine energy to, the nth degree, don't always have the best relationship track record. So, do with that information what you will. And then she ends off by saying, learn and move on. Ask yourself what happened, why did it happen, and what did I learn? I think that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. She has a video on the topic. I don't think I'm going to be watching that. It's probably just going to be more of the same. And then she ends off her email by saying, do you want a man you love dearly back in your life? So here we are back to the focus on the man. It's all about the man. It's all about getting him back. And she says, I created the ABCs program based on my own experiences and those of thousands of my clients. This is why the ABCs is proven to work. You will either call back the man you desire or call forth the man you are meant to be with. So this is one of these get your ex back programs that are kind of very popular with people who are in deep heartbreak and very, desperate and in a lot of pain. That's why get your ex back programs tend to sell so well, because they're kind of selling a promise to people who are really desperate and who are, in a very vulnerable position. And so I regard them as very predatory. I don't know what her ABCs program, I don't really know too much about the content, so I can't comment on whether it's good or bad. But if it's anything like the rest of her advice, I mean, I wouldn't tend to trust it too much. But yeah, I just think all of this is really predatory. It really preys on people who are in very vulnerable, painful situations. And it's, as I keep saying, one of the main reasons why I am so mistrustful and, like, frankly, against these dating coaches. They wouldn't have a career, they wouldn't have an income if it wasn't for people who were in a lot of pain, who if it wasn't for people who are desperate, who are, feeling down on themselves and desperate for an answer, a quick fix, something that can help them navigate a toxic situation in many cases. And these coaches make promises that they just, quite frankly, can't deliver on. So that's it for today. This has been a kind of a long video, but I've enjoyed making it. I hope that you guys have found some sort of value in what I've said. I hope maybe it's helped a little bit, or that you've at least enjoyed watching the video. And let me know what you think. I always welcome your comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye.